legally covering their backs. There's just too many unknowns. And then, of course, we have that the doctor that allegedly delivered Lily quit her practice 2 weeks after giving birth to Lily or delivering Lily. That sentence there is missing.
Prince William doubles down. According to multiple sources, it's now a matter of when, not if, he strips Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their royal titles.
Harry and Meghan have never provided any evidence for that highly incendiary claim. It's not like they haven't had the chance to. After all, they pumped out 6 hours of self-indulgent bilge on Netflix, trashing Britain and the press.
4 years, Prince William has remained one of the most closely watched figures in the royal family. Every speech becomes a headline. Every appearance sparks discussion. Every decision is analysed by royal commentators around the world. But now, according to growing reports, a stunning DNA revelation has thrown royal watchers into a frenzy. And if the speculation is accurate, it could completely change the conversation surrounding the future of the monarchy. Because this isn't just another royal headline. This isn't another family disagreement. And this certainly isn't another routine palace story. According to commentators, the revelation touches on something far deeper. Family history, family identity, and the extraordinary bloodline that connects generations of royals stretching back hundreds of years. Now, new discussions surrounding Prince William have people asking questions nobody expected to be asking this year. Questions about heritage, questions about legacy, and questions about what this revelation could mean for the future of the royal family. Supporters are intrigued. Critics are skeptical. And royal watchers everywhere are scrambling to understand the full story. So what exactly has been revealed? Why are commentators calling it stunning? And how could this development potentially change everything for Prince William and the future generation of royals? Because according to some observers, this story goes far beyond William himself. It could reshape the conversation about the monarchy's future for years to come. Let's take a closer look. As reports of the alleged DNA revelation began spreading across royal circles, one thing became immediately obvious. People couldn't stop talking about it. Because according to royal commentators, very few topics combine curiosity, history, science, and royal intrigue quite like family lineage. For centuries, monarchies have been built around bloodlines. Kings inherited crowns from fathers. Princes inherited responsibilities from previous generations. And every royal child became part of a story stretching back hundreds of years. That reality is exactly why discussions involving Prince William's ancestry instantly capture public attention. Because William is not just another royal. He is the future king. The man expected to one day lead the monarchy into an entirely new era. And according to observers, any revelation involving his family history immediately becomes a global story. What makes this situation especially fascinating is that DNA has changed the way people think about history. In the past, historians relied on records, documents, portraits, written accounts, family trees. Today, science has added another layer. DNA can reveal connections people never expected. DNA can confirm family links. DNA can uncover relationships hidden for generations. And according to royal commentators, that possibility is exactly why the latest reports have generated so much excitement. Because whenever science intersects with royal history, people pay attention. Very close attention. Meanwhile, commentators have begun revisiting the extraordinary family network surrounding Prince William. A network that stretches across centuries of European history. Kings, queens, princes, princesses, political alliances, historic marriages, and family connections that span multiple countries and generations. According to royal analysts, few families in the world possess a documented history as extensive as the British royal family. Every generation leaves records. Every generation leaves stories. And every generation contributes another chapter to an already remarkable family narrative. That reality has led many observers to ask an intriguing question. How much of William's future is shaped by the past? Because according to commentators, the monarchy is built on continuity. One generation hands responsibility to the next. One generation preserves traditions for the next. And one generation prepares future leaders long before they ever take the throne. William represents exactly that transition. A bridge between the modern monarchy and the future monarchy. A bridge between King Charles and Prince George. And according to royal observers, that unique position makes every aspect of his background especially significant. Supporters of the monarchy see stories like this as reminders of history. Reminders of continuity. Reminders of the extraordinary journey that has brought the royal family into the modern era. Critics often view such stories differently. They argue that ancestry alone does not determine leadership. That modern monarchies succeed because of public trust rather than family trees. And according to commentators, both perspectives continue fueling debate. Yet despite those disagreements, public fascination remains undeniable. Why? Because people are naturally drawn to stories involving identity. People want to know where families come from. People want to understand how history shapes the present. And people want to discover connections between the past and the future. That curiosity becomes even stronger when royalty enters the picture. Because royal families are not merely families. They are institutions, symbols, historical narratives stretching across centuries. And according to observers, Prince William sits at the center of one of the most significant family narratives in the world. Meanwhile, royal watchers continue examining every detail surrounding the alleged revelation. Some believe it highlights the extraordinary depth of William's ancestry. Others believe it simply reminds people of connections historians have discussed for years. But regardless of interpretation, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The conversation is growing. Media outlets are paying attention. Royal commentators are weighing in. And audiences around the world are becoming more interested in the story. Because according to many analysts, the real significance may not lie in a single discovery. The significance may lie in what that discovery represents. A connection between history and the present. A connection between generations. And a connection between the monarchy's past and its future. For Prince William, that symbolism carries enormous weight. Because every future king inherits more than a title. He inherits a legacy. A legacy shaped by generations of family history. Generations of responsibility. And generations of decisions that help define the institution he will one day lead. According to royal observers, that may be the reason this story has generated such intense interest. Not because it changes who William is, but because it reminds people who he represents. A future king carrying centuries of history into a rapidly changing world. And according to many commentators, that realization may be far more powerful than any headline. Because while DNA may reveal fascinating connections, the bigger story remains the same. Prince William's future, the monarchy's future, and the extraordinary family legacy that continues shaping both. As fascination surrounding the alleged DNA revelation continued growing, royal commentators began asking a much bigger question. Why does this matter so much? Because according to observers, the story is no longer simply about ancestry. It is no longer simply about family history. And it is no longer simply about genetics. Instead, the discussion has evolved into something much larger. Legacy. For centuries, the British monarchy has survived because each generation successfully passed responsibility to the next. Kings became fathers. fathers became grandfathers, and future monarchs were prepared long before they ever wore the crown. That process continues today. King Charles represents one generation. Prince William represents the next. And Prince George represents the generation that follows. According to royal analysts, that continuity is one of the monarchy's greatest strengths. Because while governments change and public figures come and go, institutions survive through long-term planning. That reality has caused many commentators to view the DNA discussion through a different lens. Not as a scientific story, but as a symbolic story. A story about continuity. A story about identity. And a story about the future direction of the royal family. Meanwhile, Prince William continues becoming more central to royal life with each passing year. His responsibilities continue expanding. His public profile continues growing. And according to royal observers, many people already view him as the face of the monarchy's future. That reality makes every discussion involving William more significant. Every speech, every decision, every public appearance, and every revelation connected to his family history. Because people are not simply looking at William the person. They are looking at William the future king. The man who will eventually inherit responsibilities that stretch far beyond himself. According to commentators, that distinction explains why stories involving ancestry generate so much interest. People are fascinated by the idea that history continues influencing the present. They are fascinated by the idea that generations remain connected across centuries. And they are fascinated by the idea that today's royal family represents the latest chapter in a story that began hundreds of years ago. Supporters of the monarchy often embrace that perspective. They view royal history as one of the institution's defining strengths. A reminder that the monarchy connects modern Britain with its past. Critics see things differently. They argue that modern leadership should be judged by actions rather than ancestry. They believe family history may be interesting, but should not be confused with personal achievement. That debate has existed for generations. And according to commentators, it is unlikely to disappear anytime soon. Yet regardless of where people stand, interest in William's future continues growing. Because according to royal observers, the monarchy is approaching an important transition. King Charles is defining his reign. Prince William is preparing for the future. And Prince George is gradually becoming more visible to the public. That progression has encouraged many people to think about what the monarchy might look like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, even 50 years from now. What kind of king will William become? What kind of institution will he inherit? And what role will family legacy play in shaping that future? Those questions have become increasingly important. Not because anyone has definitive answers, but because they highlight the enormous responsibility William carries. According to analysts, every future monarch inherits more than ceremonial duties. They inherit expectations. They inherit traditions. They inherit public scrutiny. And they inherit a family story that has been developing for centuries. That is why so many royal watchers continue discussing the alleged DNA revelation. Because for them, the story represents something much larger than genetics. It represents continuity. A reminder that the royal family's history did not begin with William. And it will not end with William either. Instead, he occupies a position between generations. Between King Charles and Prince George. Between the monarchy's past and its future. That symbolic role may ultimately explain why the story has attracted so much attention. Because people are not merely interested in what the revelation says about history. They are interested in what it says about the future. And according to many royal commentators, the future remains the most fascinating part of the entire story. Because while history explains where the monarchy came from, William will help determine where it goes next. And that responsibility may be more significant than any DNA revelation itself. As discussions surrounding Prince William's alleged DNA revelation continued spreading, royal commentators began focusing on another fascinating question. What does this revelation say about the future of the monarchy itself? Because according to many observers, stories involving royal ancestry are never really just about the past. They are about the future. For centuries, the British monarchy has relied on continuity. One generation prepares the next. One monarch hands responsibility to another. And each future king inherits not only a title, but also a historical legacy stretching back hundreds of years. That reality is exactly why Prince William occupies such a unique position today. According to royal analysts, William is no longer viewed simply as King Charles's son. He is increasingly viewed as the future of the institution. The person many believe will define the monarchy for decades to come. That transition has already begun. Every year, William's public role grows larger. Every year, his responsibilities increase. And every year, public interest in his future becomes stronger. According to commentators, that growing attention helps explain why stories involving his family history generate such powerful reactions. People are not merely interested in where William came from. They are interested in where he is going. And perhaps more importantly, where he may lead the monarchy in the future. Meanwhile, the royal family continues facing a rapidly changing world. Technology is changing. Media is changing. Public expectations are changing. And institutions everywhere are being forced to adapt. According to royal observers, William understands that challenge better than most. Throughout recent years, he has consistently emphasized issues that resonate with younger generations. Mental health, environmental initiatives, community projects, modern public service. These priorities have helped shape his image as a future monarch prepared for a very different era than previous generations faced. That image has become one of William's greatest strengths. Because while ancestry may connect him to history, his actions continue shaping expectations about the future. According to commentators, that balance is critical. Too much focus on tradition can make institutions appear outdated. Too much focus on change can weaken the sense of continuity that gives institutions stability. Successful monarchs often find a balance between both. And many royal observers believe William is attempting exactly that. The alleged DNA revelation has therefore become symbolic of something larger. A connection between old and new. A connection between historical legacy and modern leadership. A connection between the monarchy people remember and the monarchy people expect to see in the future. Supporters of William argue that he is uniquely positioned to maintain that balance. They believe he combines respect for tradition with an understanding of modern challenges. Critics remain more cautious. They argue that future success depends on performance rather than symbolism. Yet regardless of perspective, interest in William's future remains extraordinary. Because according to analysts, every generation eventually reaches a defining moment. A moment when expectations begin shifting from potential to responsibility. For Prince William, that moment appears to be approaching. The public is increasingly evaluating him not as a prince, but as a future king. A future king whose decisions may shape the monarchy for decades. That reality has encouraged many royal watchers to think differently about stories involving his heritage. Instead of asking what the revelation says about the past, they are asking what it says about the future. What kind of leader will William become? What kind of institution will he inherit? And what kind of institution will he eventually leave behind for Prince George and future generations? Those questions continue driving enormous public interest. Because unlike many royal stories, these questions affect the long-term future of the monarchy itself. And according to commentators, that may be why the alleged DNA revelation has captured so much attention. Not because it changes history. Not because it changes William. But because it reminds people that every future king stands at the intersection of two powerful forces: the legacy of the past and the responsibilities of the future. For Prince William, those responsibilities continue growing larger with every passing year. And according to many royal observers, the most important chapters of that story may still lie ahead. As royal commentators continued examining the implications of the alleged DNA revelation, another important theme began dominating discussions: identity. Because according to many observers, the story is no longer simply about Prince William's ancestry. It is about what that ancestry represents. For centuries, members of the royal family have lived with a unique reality. Their personal identity is often connected to something much larger than themselves. Family history, national history, institutional history. And according to commentators, Prince William embodies all three. That reality has become increasingly important as William moves closer to the throne. Because the public is no longer looking only at the Prince of Wales. They are looking at the future king. A future king who will inherit not only responsibilities and traditions, but also the expectations of millions of people. According to royal analysts, that transition changes everything. When William first entered public life, many people viewed him primarily through the lens of youth. The son of Princess Diana, the eldest son of King Charles, a young royal finding his place in a rapidly changing world. Today, the conversation is very different. William is a husband, a father, a senior royal, and the man expected to guide the monarchy through future challenges. That evolution has naturally increased public interest in every aspect of his life, including stories connected to family heritage. Because according to commentators, heritage helps explain how institutions survive across generations. Every generation inherits lessons from those who came before. Every generation learns from past successes and past mistakes. And every generation adds something new to the institution it inherits. That process has defined the monarchy for centuries. Kings learned from previous kings. Princes prepared for future responsibilities. And families preserved traditions while adapting to changing times. William now stands at the center of that process. Meanwhile, public fascination with the royal family remains remarkably strong. Despite changing media landscapes, changing social expectations, and changing political realities, millions of people continue following royal stories. Why? According to observers, one reason is continuity. People are drawn to stories that connect the past with the future. Stories that show how history continues shaping modern events. And stories that remind them that institutions can survive dramatic changes over time. That is why discussions involving William's family history resonate so strongly. Not because ancestry alone determines anything, but because ancestry provides context. Context for understanding where the monarchy came from. Context for understanding where it might be going. And context for understanding the enormous responsibilities William will eventually inherit. Supporters believe William is uniquely prepared for that challenge. They point to years of public service, years of preparation, and years of gradual transition into greater leadership roles. Critics remain cautious. They argue that future success can only be judged by future actions. Both perspectives continue fueling debate. Yet one thing remains undeniable. Interest in William's future continues growing. Because according to royal commentators, people sense that a major transition is approaching. Not immediately, but inevitably. A transition from one generation to another. A transition from King Charles to Prince William. And eventually, a transition from William to Prince George. The alleged DNA revelation has therefore become symbolic of something much bigger. A reminder that the monarchy exists across generations. A reminder that today's leaders were once tomorrow's leaders. And a reminder that the future is always being shaped by the decisions made today. For William, that reality carries enormous significance. Because while history may explain where he came from, his actions will help determine what future generations remember about him. And according to many royal observers, that responsibility may ultimately matter far more than any revelation about ancestry. Because in the end, legacy is not defined solely by bloodlines. It is defined by leadership. It is defined by service. And it is defined by the impact a person leaves behind. For Prince William, that story is still being written. And according to many commentators, its most important chapters may still lie ahead. As the discussion surrounding Prince William's alleged DNA revelation continued capturing attention, many royal commentators arrived at the same conclusion. The real story may have very little to do with DNA itself. Instead, it may have everything to do with the future. Because according to observers, every generation of the royal family eventually reaches a defining moment. A moment when the public stops looking at potential and starts looking at responsibility. For Prince William, that moment appears closer than ever. For years, he was viewed as the future. The young prince. The son of King Charles. The son of Princess Diana. The royal figure preparing for responsibilities that seemed far away. Today, the situation is different. William is no longer preparing for leadership in some distant future. He is actively shaping the monarchy's future right now. His projects attract global attention. His public appearances influence public perception. And his decisions increasingly reflect the direction many believe the institution is heading. That reality has transformed the way people view stories involving him. Including this one. Because according to royal analysts, the alleged DNA revelation has become symbolic of something much larger. A reminder that every future monarch inherits two responsibilities. One responsibility involves preserving the legacy of the past. The other involves preparing for the challenges of the future. Balancing those responsibilities is never easy. Too much focus on tradition can limit progress. Too much focus on change can weaken continuity. Successful monarchs often find a way to respect both. And according to many commentators, William's future may depend on his ability to achieve that balance. Meanwhile, public fascination with the monarchy remains remarkably strong. People continue following royal stories. People continue debating royal decisions. And people continue speculating about what future generations may bring. Prince George. Princess Charlotte. Prince Louis. The next generation is already becoming part of the conversation. That reality highlights something many observers find fascinating. The monarchy is always thinking decades ahead. Not just years. Decades. Every generation prepares the next. Every generation builds upon the previous one. And every generation contributes to a story that continues evolving over time. According to commentators, that long-term perspective is one reason why stories involving ancestry and heritage remain so popular. They remind people that the monarchy is not simply about individuals. It is about continuity. A continuous thread connecting past, present, and future. Supporters of William believe he is exceptionally well positioned to carry that tradition forward. They point to his experience, his public service, his understanding of modern issues, and his growing role within the institution. Critics remain cautious. They argue that future leadership can only be evaluated once it arrives. Yet regardless of differing opinions, one fact remains clear. Expectations surrounding William continue growing. With every passing year, more people view him as the future face of the monarchy. And with that expectation comes enormous responsibility. Responsibility not only to preserve traditions, but also to ensure the institution remains relevant in a rapidly changing world. According to many royal observers, that challenge may ultimately define William's legacy. Far more than any DNA revelation. Far more than any headline. And far more than any single moment. Because when historians eventually look back on William's role in royal history, they may focus on one question above all others. Did he successfully guide the monarchy into a new era while preserving the traditions that made it endure for centuries? That question remains unanswered. But according to commentators, the answer is already beginning to take shape. Through his actions, through his leadership, and through the choices he continues making today. Which is why so many people remain fascinated by stories like this. Not because they reveal the past, but because they encourage people to think about the future. A future where Prince William may become one of the most important monarchs of the modern era. And a future whose most important chapters have yet to be written. What do you think? Could Prince William become the king who transforms the monarchy for a new generation? Do you believe family legacy still plays an important role in the royal family's future? Or do you think leadership and actions matter far more than ancestry? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal news, exclusive analysis, and breaking developments involving Prince William, King Charles, Princess Catherine, Prince George, and the royal family. Thank you for watching. Stay informed. Stay curious. And we'll see you in the next video.